Hello and welcome to my channel The Conceptual Codon. Here we discuss about various medical concepts. We are starting a new audio series where we will discuss about various medical topics in a nutshell. We are starting this audio series because you can listen to the medical topics whenever and wherever possible to brush up your concepts and revise the topic as well. So today's topic is hyponatremia. Hyponatremia is the most common electrolyte abnormality seen in hospitalized patients. Now, what is hyponatremia? Hyponatremia is defined as serum sodium less than 135 milliequivalent per liter. So when the serum sodium level will be less than 135 milliequivalent per liter, we will call it hyponatremia. Now, hyponatremia occurs because the ratio of water to sodium is increased. This ratio can be increased either due to water retention, so water will be more and the ratio of water to sodium will be increased. Also, this ratio can be increased due to loss of sodium or redistribution of sodium and water. Moving on to the etiologies of hyponatremia. There is a term called pseudo-hyponatremia, where there is relatively low sodium levels due to expansion of plasma volume. It occurs in hyperglycemia, hyperlipidemia, hyperproteinemia, or due to some drugs like mannitol, sucrose, glycine, etc. So this is pseudo-hyponatremia. Other types include according to the volume, that is hypovolemic hyponatremia, euvolemic hyponatremia, and hypervolemic hyponatremia. Hypovolemic hyponatremia. Here the volume is reduced. It can be due to extra renal losses like gastrointestinal in case of vomiting and diarrhea, loss from skin like sweating or burns, and third space losses like sepsis, bowel obstruction, etc. Or it can be due to some renal losses as well, like diuretic excess, post-obstructive diuresis, mineralocorticoid deficiency, etc. Now, euvolemic hyponatremia. The causes of euvolemic hyponatremia include inappropriate secretion of ADH, that is SiADH, desmopressin, glucocorticoid deficiency, etc. Next is hypervolemic hyponatremia. Hypervolemic hyponatremia occurs in congestive cardiac failure, cirrhosis, nephrotic syndrome, etc. You can remember the causes of hypervolemic hyponatremia as all of these three causes, cardiac failure, cirrhosis, and nephrotic syndrome, causes edema or ascites. Now let's discuss the pathophysiology of hyponatremia. So it is hyponatremia, the serum sodium is low. So the osmolality of the extracellular fluid is low due to low sodium. But intracellular sodium cannot move freely out of the cell to correct the low sodium concentration in extracellular fluid, because the membrane is not permeable to sodium. Instead, what happens? Water is freely permitted to move across cell membrane, and that leads to a shift of water from extracellular fluid compartment to intracellular fluid compartment. As a result, the cells swell up. Now in watertight compartments like brain, any swelling of the cells like the neuronal cells leads to some deleterious complications like cerebral edema, increased intracranial pressure, now which impairs the cortical blood flow and leads to the neurological symptoms which are classically seen in hyponatremia. So the main pathophysiology here is the shift of water from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid because the sodium concentration in extracellular fluid is less, and to correct this hypoosmolality of extracellular fluid, water shifts from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid, leading to cell swelling. Now this shift of water across membrane is decided by two important factors, that is severity of hyponatremia, how low the serum sodium concentration is, and the rapidity of fall in serum sodium. According to the rapidity, hyponatremia is divided into two types: acute hyponatremia, where the serum sodium falls over less than 48 hours, and chronic hyponatremia, when the serum sodium falls over more than 48 hours. What happens in case of chronic hyponatremia is that cerebral edema in chronic hyponatremia can be prevented, because in chronic hyponatremia the hyponatremia develops gradually and the neurons adapt to the decreased extracellular osmolality by reducing the intracellular osmolality. How does the neurons reduce the intracellular osmolality? They do reduce the intracellular osmolality by extrusion of some main intracellular ions like K plus ion, Cl minus ion, etc. And later they also extrude some neosynthesized solutes. These are called ideogenic osmoles. They include glutamate, glutamine, taurine, myoinositol, etc. Due to this mechanism in chronic hyponatremia, the severity of the symptoms are less because the cell swelling are less as the neurons adapt to the low osmolality of the extracellular fluid. Let's move on to the clinical features that are seen in hyponatremia. Symptoms occur mainly due to extracellular hypoosmolality, that is the main pathophysiology, and the cell swelling. Neuronal cells are extremely sensitive to the changes in sodium levels. That is why the predominant symptoms are neurological symptoms. The symptoms vary according to the serum sodium concentration. If the concentration is between 125 to 135 milliequivalent per liter, the symptoms are least severe. They are nausea, vomiting, malaise, etc. If the level varies between 115 to 125 milliequivalent per liter, there will be headache, lethargy, confusion, etc. So the occurrence of neurological symptoms will be there. And if the level of sodium is less than 115 milliequivalent per liter, severe symptoms like seizures, coma, permanent brain damage can occur, and this can lead to ultimately death. Now finally, what is the treatment of hyponatremia? Symptomatic hyponatremia or severe hyponatremia, where the sodium level is less than 120 milliequivalent per liter, is treated with immediate bolus of 4 to 6 milliliter per kg of 3% sodium chloride. So if the hyponatremia is severe, it is treated with immediate bolus of 3% sodium chloride. Sodium deficit is calculated by using a formula. but the maximum acceptable limit of serum sodium correction is 12 milliequivalent per liter per 24 hour or 18 milliequivalent per liter per 48 hour. So in 24 hours we should maximally correct the sodium deficit by 12 milliequivalent per liter. Simply speaking, the rate should be maximum 0.5 milliequivalent per liter per hour. There is a cause behind this. Rapid correction should be strictly avoided in order to prevent the central pontine myelinosis or CPM. So if the sodium level or sodium deficit is corrected beyond the max level mentioned before, it will lead to a deleterious complication, that is central pontine myelinosis or CPM. Central pontine myelinosis or CPM is characterized by appearance of new onset confusion, altered sensorium, seizures, quadriparesis, and even death. Hyponatremia-induced seizures respond poorly to anticonvulsants. If there is inappropriate secretion of ADH, the mainstay of treatment is fluid restriction. Furosemide is effective in severe hyponatremia. If there is cerebral salt wasting, high-dose fludrocortisones is tried. That concludes the topic hyponatremia.
If you liked the video, do like, comment and share. To watch more conceptual videos like this, please subscribe.